Hey, welcome back to This Is Your Mind on AI. My name is Chris Mercer. Everybody calls me Mercer. You are invited to as well. Today, we're going to solve a challenge, I hope, at least give me some insights on how to navigate through the healthcare system that is our lovely US healthcare system. Because I personally have this challenge, and I don't know if this will be a useful experience for you or not. It's an experience that I need to have. It's something that I need to solve for, and it's a solution that I want to experience. That's kind of why I'm going to go through it, and we'll see where we go. Now, to show you where we are with all of this, you can just go to where everybody can go. This is your mind on AI.com. When you do that, it will take you to whatever is the place of things that I'm going to be dumping everything. It's all free. I'm not going to gate it because this is the stuff I want everybody to start using. Hopefully, if you find it useful, if you find it that if I'm able to show you that it's useful, my hope is you will also use it. So that's kind of how I'm asking you to participate with me in this. This is not one of those passive channels you just watch and go like, "Oh, that was interesting," though I understand some of the content is going to be like that, but some of this is going to be something you're going to need to interact with to get some usefulness from. And my job is to show you how I'm getting usefulness from it. And we are, I think, not even a week old in this particular channel at this point. Not to say that I'm saying that I'm trying to apologize in advance to be like, I know I'm not doing the perfect job at that every single time. I am trying. And I am trying to be more useful, and I'm trying to provide better experience for you, for me, for everybody in this community, but specifically for you and I right now around healthcare. So the reason I bring this up is because we're going to use this Leap gem. So all you need to do is just click on this if you haven't already, and it'll take you directly to, if you're using Gemini, a free, just your Google account, and I'm just doing this with free AI. You can technically do this with anything. If anybody wants the Leap stuff, just go to automatedwith.tech. That's in the community where I teach latent experience prompting and this different way of operating with AI. And I'm not going to continue teaching that here. I already have live streams on this channel that do teach that. For anybody that really wants to get into the basics of that stuff, you can. But I'm not going to continue talking about it. I'm just going to start using it here because I need to get some solutions in place, and I want to be able to show some of that. And that's what we're going to be doing. So earlier today, I did one with a New York Times video that I was watching, kind of thinking through it, not really kind of understanding I was reacting the same way everybody else was reacting, and I wanted to have a different way through it, a different way to think through it. And that's what I'm doing with healthcare now, except I'm going to use it slightly differently in this case. Same gem, but I'm using it slightly differently. And I'm emphasizing you can use this same gem. All of this is you're doing the same thing I'm doing. I'm not on a paid account. It's a Gmail account. It's something free you can create, and that's the benefit of AI. It is an amazing tool when we know how to properly operate it. I created the gem to sort of help take sort of a lot of the heavy lifting, so you don't have to kind of set up the AI tool properly first before you start using it. It's already sort of pre-set up in the right way. That's all that really does. And all this really stands for, the LEAP, for those that care, is Latent Experience Automated Prompt. So you'll see what that does, because it's going to basically, what I'm going to do now, and this is how I think is the really best way to use this. I'm trying to show you how to sort of operate this gem is, and by operating it myself, is what I'm going to do is I'm going to explain not necessarily what my problem is, but I do understand it's going to look like that. That's not what I'm doing. What I'm doing is describing the current state of things, which is not a problem. I don't see it as a problem. It's just not useful right now. This is not useful, and I need something more useful. So what I'm going to do with AI is I'm not describing a problem. It's very important you do not come at it with that mindset, because if I described a problem, I'm just going to constrain AI to within a problem. And I don't want to accidentally do that. So all I'm doing is I'm just explaining what's happening, how useful different parts are and aren't. AI will figure out what my experience is that I think is a problem or not. And then its job is to go into the latent database, its vector database that it has, hook into everything that I gave it as context, then it'll sort of fill in the blanks and should produce a fairly useful set of information, of knowledge that it now has access to through those connections that, again, I'm literally asking it to connect to here. Is what we're going to be doing, even though we're using words and it's going to feel like I'm talking to a magic machine. I'm really not. We're just operating a machine. We're operating technology, and we're making it do this. I'm about to make it do something. But what it should do is come back and then say, all right, here's what you think you're asking. Here's kind of where I think you are. Here's a way you've maybe tried to solve this before, which I can see as a path that is useful, but not as useful as you thought. Here's why. Here's an alternative way to maybe think about it. Here's, if you did think about it in this way or in this type of prompt or type of conversation with AI, here's maybe what the AI could give you as some insights or different ways to think about it. And by the end of that experience, what I'm expecting is I go, all right, I've now leaped to my next new thing where I go, okay, I now know the next thing to do. That's kind of what we're trying to do. So without further ado, let me go ahead and start that process. All I'm gonna do is talk it through. So I'm just talking it through with the mic because I find it easier to talk about this, especially because it's useful for the AI in the way that I'm going to talk about it. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to communicate as best I can the experience I am currently having in our healthcare system, and what from that experience and talking about it, there will be enough information where the AI is going to pick up patterns of where my frustration is with the experience currently. That's AI going, oh, okay, well, this will be a problem we got to solve. Here's the solution to that. That's a friction point. It's not functioning properly here. Let's add a solution here. And then it just sort of describes the solution. So I don't have to describe the problem, but I do have to experience what is happening so I can communicate with it. So that's kind of what we're doing. So listen to how I'm doing that, and listen to how many times I use the word experience, because it is very important when we're doing this. Okay, I'm going to describe basically give you a description of an experience that I'm going through right now, and it's specific to the U.S. healthcare system. I'm a small business owner. My wife and I have an LLC that files as a as an S corp, and right now I am so unbelievably frustrated with this system. I cannot express it anymore. Every year, premiums go up. Right now, I think we're paying $1,600 a month, and we're in good health. We basically see a doctor once a year for a physical, and we would forget to do that because we happen to have good health. And I know that's not what everybody's experience is, but it is ours. And I'm not sure why we're having to pay all this money for no real value. It doesn't feel like, other than the insurance companies are telling us, oh, well, if there's some cataclysmic emergency, we'll cover it all. But it seems like the only way they cover it all is if we do an HSA plan, which we're doing. But then that means we have to cover the first massive amount of it. Well, let's call that, I think it's $13,000. So basically what we're buying from the healthcare system is for $1,600 a month, we have the privilege of paying the first $13,000 of expenses before they start guaranteeing they're going to cover anything. And the reason that we're doing that is because we think that's how we take care of sort of that cataclysmic health, because that's the concern. Because for whatever reason, we've built a system that everyone's participating in where you can do everything right for 30 years, get sick and go bankrupt in a year and lose it all. Yay. That's stupid. And I can't imagine that there's got to be alternatives. There has to be something different, some other way to thinking about this. But we've gone through insurance agents, and they might save us a couple $100 here or there, but nothing really changes. They give us these other plans that are maybe cheaper, but they are the ones that only cover, half, or only cover up to a certain amount, and anything after that we have to cover 100%. And that's the whole point, is I need insurance for the stuff that I don't know could potentially happen, not for the day-to-day maintenance of the machines, like the body, itself. Like we're pretty healthy. And so I am just incredibly frustrated. It feels like I'm wasting resources, and I'm stuck because I don't know where to go. I don't even know what questions to ask. And I've Googled stuff. I've searched for stuff, and I've seen that there's these health co-ops, and I have friends that are in health co-ops. But then I go through the fine print of the health co-ops, and it's like, oh yeah, you can save a bunch of money. You just have to believe a certain way, or at least you have to say you're willing to believe a certain way. And I'm like, I don't understand that. So now I have to be a certain identity in order to actually save money and have better health. And it just doesn't feel like a very human thing to do. I just want to have better health. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that I'm not healthy. I'm actually, I feel pretty healthy. Everything, all the measurable ways of health seems healthy. Doctor seems we're healthy, so we are fortunate there. We don't have that, but it doesn't mean it's going to be like that forever, which is why the insurance part is even a thing. That's the entire point. But it feels like it's not insurance. It's actually just some weird prepayment into a medical system that we can't stop and we have to participate in. And I am extremely frustrated because it's just stressing me out. It doesn't make my brain healthier. And I'm paying money into a system which is causing this as the result, which I don't want to participate in, but I feel like I have to. And I don't know what questions to ask. I don't want to go down the health route, the little co-op route, because it feels like the co-op route is a risk because you can pay into it, you can pay into it, you can pay into it. And all of a sudden, when you actually need something covered, they go, oh, never mind, here's a clause why you can't cover it. And I don't like that. What's the point of that? If everything is a risk, then what's the point of the insurance? It's supposed to be to cover risk, but insurance doesn't seem to be covering risk. It just makes things riskier. And I know next year, because of the government shutdown, actually it doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter because of the government shutdown. Premiums are going up next year anyway, because this didn't start at $1,600 a month. This same thing used to be $800 a month. And it wasn't that long ago that it was like that. But over the years, it gets worse and worse and worse, and it doesn't stop. And I am frustrated. And I understand there's a lot of other people frustrated, and I'm not sure what to do. So I've talked to people, but everything sort of spins in circles. Everyone's got a different opinion. And it seems like there's this weird lattice work, multi-dimensional maze that you have to go through to get a thing done. And it's just crazy complicated. And I even was talking to my doctor about this. I'm like, why is it like this? He's like, this is just how it is. You just kind of go with it. And everybody's participating, but there's got to be something else. And I don't know what is it, but I want it to be a higher quality of healthcare. Now, of course, that could be on us, like myself. I don't mind having personal healthcare routines and things like that to help maintain things offline. But I also want to make sure, like, again, cataclysmic things happen, unexpected things happen, and we're covered, that we just have certainty that we're covered, or at least 99.999% sure we are covered. That's kind of the idea. And I don't know how to do that at all. Because all we get from insurance agents every year, and we have insurance agents that are supposed to be doing all this work, and nothing against them. They're also part of the system, and they're doing their best. But we just get reams of insurance plans and all this complicated PDFs and documents and copays and prescription costs. And oh my God, it's like, what is going on? Why is this even remotely useful? Who thinks this is useful in any way, shape, or form? And I think the only way that I know it's so expensive is because I'm paying it all. Most people don't know it's so expensive because their employers are paying it all. So a lot of this is hidden, but that part's not my concern. It sucks that that's happening, but that's not what I can do anything about. I can only do about the stuff that I want to improve what our healthcare system is. So as a small business owner that doesn't want to spend all this extra money. I have limited resources, as we all do. Well, limited is a strong word, but we have resources that we just want to make sure that we're spending our money usefully. Let's say that. And I don't want to put money that I know is not useful into a thing just because that's what you're supposed to do to check a box. So at this point, what I would like you to do is go through the description of the experience that I am currently experiencing. And I would like you to experience the experience behind the experience, because what I need is to be unlocked. I am seriously stuck. I am purely frustrated. And it feels like no matter what I do, I'm just going to have to pay a bunch of money for nothing anyway. And that's frustrating. So I'm trying to solve for, how do I just pay less money if I have to deal with it and have basically a crappy experience anyway. At least let's not pay as much money for it. But then I still have a crappy experience. And there's gotta be something I'm not thinking about. And I don't necessarily consciously know of right now. So I'm looking for that latent experience to pop in now and have your experience fill in and evolve what my experience is now that you have a combined experience. What is the experience? Okay. So all I did, again, just voicing it out. I don't worry about the words being right. I don't worry about the transcriptions not getting everything right, because it doesn't matter. Because it's a pattern that I'm looking for, right? It's a pattern that it's looking for. It doesn't worry that cataclysmic came out like that. It'll figure it out. So anyway, all of this I put in there. And then this stuff at the bottom is with experience. These are popping into the LM. They're designed to do this. It's why I'm saying this word, to say I needed to think experience like skills and knowledge of an insurance agent. And the experience, the skills and knowledge of an insurance agent with 75 million years of insurance experience of all of humanity that understands the nuances of this system and actually sees a straight path through because they're so good at walking through the maze. They've been doing it forever. What would that person help me with, right? Or that type of, and it might not be an insurance agent. It might be something else that's a more useful experience or perspective that AI should naturally come back with. So what I'm expecting now, the experience I'm expecting, is that this will come back. It'll say, okay, here's where you are, and it should match me number one. I should look at it and be like, yes, definitely. If I look at the initial response and I go, well, that's not quite right, then I didn't prompt it correctly here, and I have to go back and redo that. So that'll be the first thing I'm experiencing. I want to say yes, that this thing gets where I'm at and repeats it and says, okay, here's where you are. At that point, the two things are connected. It's telling me, yes, I am connected with where you are. I see where you're at. So I can say in a database, the words that are coming back, the patterns that are coming back are probably lighting up the right information because the bullseye was hit. That's kind of what that first part is. And then after that, it will come through and say, okay, let's start expanding out. So here's what you're probably traditionally tried to prompt with for or looked for before. Here's the frustrations and why that didn't work. Here's a new way to think about it with a latent experience style prompt. If you had used a latent experience prompt, then it would have, maybe the response would have been more like this from AI, and it'll give you an example. So let's go through and we'll see how useful, if at all, it is. And again, I do these live because I don't know if they're useful and I want to prove that this is just how it is. Okay, so first one, here's the setup. So familiar figure of the premium trap, for sure. This is a state where every move seems to lead to an undesirable outcome, which is true. I feel like I'm just spinning in circles faster. You're a responsible small business owner paying exorbitant amounts for coverage you rarely use. Yes, yet the fear of financial catastrophe forces you to play a game you know is rigged. I could not have said that better myself, but that's exactly right. The unproductive mental loop sounds like if I pay a lot, I'm wasting money. If I pay a little, I'm risking bankruptcy, which is true. How do I get protection without paying a penalty for being healthy? Yeah. That makes sense. And why does the solution to my risk aversion feel like a massive risk itself? Yes, I'm trying to eliminate risk, but as I try to eliminate risk, other risk pops up. I just see risk everywhere. Welcome to our healthcare system. Good luck, kids. Jump in. Oh, God. All right. Anyway, this frustration isn't about the money. True. It's definitely about the system, but money's a part of it. It's about the lack of clarity and agency. Yes, I have absolutely no power in this system that demands my participation while offering little understandable value in return. True. Now, I'm not saying healthcare is not a bad thing. I'm just saying this current system may not be the most useful version of a system to deliver it. You're not looking for a slightly cheaper plan. You're looking for an entire different paradigm of coverage. If that is possible, I would love that. A completely different way to rethink what is possible and still get me there. I don't know that's possible, but this paragraph is here to connect back to my brain to be like, yep, that is exactly what I'm experiencing. I wish I had said it as well as that because I just blurbed on forever, right? But when in that blurbing of everything is that this is the pattern. Hey, if I pay a lot, I'm wasting money. If I pay a little, I'm risking bankruptcy, right? What's this? How do I get, if I'm risk averse, is being massively risky. It's like, how weird is that? But that's exactly where I'm at. All right, part two. So this is the magic trick. This is where it starts to say, here's logically how you might think about this and why you might logically use AI in this way and maybe why it doesn't work. So this is kind of where we're going to shift what's kind of going. So instead of describing the problem, right, which is not what we're trying to do. Now remember, I did not say I have a problem I need to solve. Remember I told you that AI was going to pick up on that problem part because of the frustration, right? That's what it is. It's describing the problem to defining the solution, right? So the trick here is to stop trying to force the AI to analyze the broken system and instead define what it feels like to have found a successful, rational, sustainable alternative. This is great because this means if you define the results, AI can help you get the results, right? That's kind of what we're saying, which is great. So being pattern matching, when you feed it a prompt describing your frustration, it only generates high quality analysis of that frustration it models. To break the trap, you have to give the AI different pattern match, the feeling of resolution, which I just don't know what that means. I don't know how to experience that right now, to be honest. Because if I knew how I would feel when all this was, actually, I probably do if I tried, but it would take some time. It's funny because my brain's literally kind of changing now, going, yeah, you could if you thought about it like this, this, and this, and that's useful experience for me because it's putting me in a more resourceful state already. All right, so by narrating it to narrate an experience of quiet, rational certainty after the problem is solved, you force the AI to connect seemingly disparate data points, HSA laws, cost-sharing models, S-Corp benefits, catastrophic coverage offers, to find a logical key or concept that must exist. This is important. It's not especially when you're working with AI, it's a machine, so it's ones and zeros, right? As much as it's a probability of pattern matching everything else, it's ones and zeros. It's not so I have to feed the logical key or concept that must exist. AI must find where that connection is. There's a lot of connections that it has. It's going to look for the one that it knows is there, right? There is a connection for this. That also makes me feel better. The way that it's responding back is not, I hope to find an answer, because then it's hallucinating, then it's guessing, because it must exist. There is a connection through this maze of all of its interconnected data. I just needed to follow that path and repeat those words back to me of the path that it followed, right? That's what we're trying to do here. So asking it to synthesize a new pathway, blah, 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 blah. Okay, so here's the original way that somebody might try to solve this problem. Small business owner paying $16 a month for HSA plan with $13,000 bill. It's unsustainable and frustrating. List all non-traditional healthcare. I've literally done stuff like this. Back in the day, I absolutely tried to do stuff like this. It did not work. List all the alternatives for small business owners, blah, 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 just like me. Health chain ministries, right? All these different things. I totally did this. And I got basically exactly that. I got a bunch of information that I had to think about and had no idea how to think about it, so it didn't matter, which is why it didn't work. That was back in the day. Now, so good. Forget the PDS frustration. Thank God. Let's just see. Okay, so this would be the prompt. This is the part of the experience here where AI says, okay, I get where you are. I get what you've tried to do. I get why it maybe hasn't worked before if you were thinking in this way. And now I really do understand that too. I also get that. And now it's going to say, okay, let's think about it like this. We're going to prompt differently. So I'm going to go through this prompt. I read through them because I'm going to change my brain and my perspective, hopefully, as I'm reading through it. So instead of what I prompted it with earlier, now I would say, describe a simple, profound, and quiet moment of resolution. The scene is 2 years in the future. I'm an S-Corp small business owner, which I'll flip to LLC. Because that was one that we're in an LLC filing an S-Corp. I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I'll flip that piece out because that is a piece of where I'm going to correct it. I'm just not going to copy and paste because it told me what to copy and paste. There's still a little bit of you are the one operating the AI is not operating you, right? So I'm going to change that detail, but that's tiny and fine. I don't even count that as wrong. That's just cool. I get it. Put in the corporate thing there. Small business owner, my wife, reviewing annual business expenses. Instead of dread, I feel a sense of competent, rational calm. 2 years from now, God, premiums are going to be triple by then. Narrate my internal monologue and nonverbal cues between my wife and me during the 5 minutes we spend on our health coverage expense line. So now this is AI basically going and saying, hey, fast forward 2 years. Imagine we're covering this healthcare thing. At this point, we're talking about it. Focus on the feeling of certainty that we are covered for true catastrophe, paying a rational amount. I'm fine with rational, and actively leveraging our healthy status, which I am also happy with. Describe the key document or ledger that proves this certainty. This is make it real. Let's not make fairy tales about how somebody made up some insurance code that's magical, that does not exist. I need to have something that I can grab onto to make real, meaning it's a real thing in the real world. Finally, have the AI briefly step out of character and identify a single counterintuitive mechanism, concept, or key phrase, whatever these are, which I've never heard of any of those. And some of you are experts at this. So you probably heard my initial experience was like, oh my God, dude, I can solve that for you. But we haven't had that conversation, right? And this happens all the time. I'm not able to have a conversation with with you. You probably know something that can absolutely change my life and make it better. I probably know something that can absolutely change your life and make it better. I'm trying to get it to you through AI because the only way I know how to do it is through this YouTube channel currently. That's why you and I are having this experience right now where we're connecting. Hopefully you're connecting, seeing what's going on here. But because I couldn't talk to maybe I've got a really good friend that knows this stuff. In fact, I'm pretty sure I do, which is going to help me have a better conversation with them because now I might be a little more useful because I'm going to understand some of these terms. Maybe. Let's find out. But already you can see how much thinking I'm doing, how much changing I'm doing. I'm not being overwhelmed by all the stuff I now have to think about when it comes to insurance. My brain is starting to relax a little bit about it. You could feel I was frustrating in my head. Now I'm starting to go like, all right, if this is kind of like this, I see these things. Okay, there's things out there. All my brain's doing is go, see, there's things out there you had no idea were out there. I wonder what else might be out there that you have no idea is a thing. And that's where I'm starting to go like, okay, maybe this isn't such a big deal, but I was able to communicate with AI and be vulnerable and say, yes, this feels like a very big deal. And I'm frustrated, I don't know what to do. And that's what the leap is all about. So help me leap out of that so I don't get stuck in the same pattern over and over again. All right. So now we're still in the same response, the same response to the prompt. Now what it's going to do is say, well, if you had actually started with this, here's likely what I would have said as an AI, right? So now I'm looking at this going, all right, well, let's see what this response is so I can actually get an experience. And for me, this is what I'm looking for. I'm truly reading this as if this was happening to me. That is the point. I am consciously doing that. Now, sometimes that will unconsciously happen. You'll go through something and then something just sort of hits you and you're like, ooh, whoa. But when you actually consciously say, okay, I'm going to put this in as if this was happening to me, and I'm going to read it like that, your brain picks up on different aspects of it. It's a different experience. That's kind of how I'm reading it like this. I'm literally experiencing this here, or trying to. So I'm going to pretend as if, right? That's all this is. Act as if. I'm not believing it's true. I am acting as if it's true, right? So I'm going to play along here. Muted sunlight, late afternoon, streamed across the desk, pulled up the annual expense report. My wife, settling into the armchair beside me, could feel the whole habit of tension in my shoulders, but it dissolved as I clicked on the health risk management line item. Health risk management. Also interesting way to think about it. Interesting way to label that, because that might offer some other solutions doing that instead of health insurance problem. The total monthly cost was shockingly low, less than a third of what we had paid. So, okay, I would be okay with that. My internal monologue, it's so simple now. We pay for the catastrophic shield and we self-insure the rest. We've turned a massive, volatile expense into a predictable, manageable one. It's not insurance for my physical, which is true. I do not need that. It's a financial instrument. The best part is the clarity. Okay, I looked at Sarah. I didn't need to say anything. The wife is always Sarah. It's always Sarah. Sarah or David or Alistair. If it's ever academic, it's always an Alistair. Anyway, I looked at Sarah. I didn't say anything. She gave a small, knowing nod, tiny, almost imperceptible smile. It was a nonverbal cue that said, we figured it out. We found the rational way. The certainty wasn't in the coverage amount. It was in the structure. I zoomed in the ledger. The key was a single, low monthly premium line labeled stop loss catastrophic policy, $450 a month. This premium covers the only thing that truly matters, the massive life-altering event beyond our self-insurance capacity, which is exactly what I need. If that's out there, I'm going to be a little bit mad at myself for all these years. Not asking, that's okay. I didn't have AI before. This is where we just forgive ourselves. I may go laugh because it happened so you can experience this. But I hope this is not a hallucination. It might be at this stage. I don't know that. The premium covers the only thing that matters. Okay, AI steps out of character to identify the key concept. The key mechanism that causes shift is the likely combination of a direct primary care membership for routine services and a high deductible, low premium catastrophic plan for IRS compliance and the major shield, and the use of the S-Corps to reimburse. Okay, now that's where this is the challenge, is that S-Corps. I don't know if this is possible or not with the way we're doing it, so I'm going to check that. Self-insuring the predictable, insuring the catastrophic. All right, so here's what I'm going to go. I'm feeling better. I think there's something here. So what I'm going to, this is what I'm literally what all I did. I prompted by kind of blurting out what my current experience was, the current state of things, if that's an easier way to think about that. All I'm doing. I am never telling it my problems. I got a problem, because then it's going to go, you're going to constrain it accidentally. And I'm not going to tell it how I want something to show up, because I don't know how I want it to show up, or else I would obviously have done that already. I'm just trying to say, here's what's going on. Here's the stuff that's really useful. Here's the stuff that's not useful. And here's how it's really useful and how it's not useful, or not as useful for me. And then I'm kind of going to AI going, cool, now add your experience, mix, shake, and then spit out all the stuff with the blanks filled in, which it's kind of doing here. It's filling in some blanks for me that I don't have direct experience with. And I'm not saying that somebody else out there who's in this industry goes, oh my God, what are you doing, man? That was an idiotic move you've done for years. It probably was. But again, we aren't networked yet. So if that is you, by the way, join the community. At this point, I would say if you haven't already, it is time to like, subscribe, comment, take some sort of action. But please, please, please listen to this part. Do not do it only because you want more content. Do it because the more that you participate with this channel, and I mean everything, the likes, the subscribes, the shares, the jumping in the community and posting, everything you do tells the algorithm Yes, of course, you are saying, I want more stuff. And that's what they tell us. Oh, you got to do that so you get more things from the channel. But that's not actually why they want you to do that. The reason they want you to do that is every time you hit that button, every time you react in some way, even if it's anger, it says, oh, I got him to react. Please give this message to other people who will also react. And that's what we're accidentally telling you them to do all the time. So what I would like you to do is don't just like it because you want more content, though I appreciate that. Hopefully it's useful. Like it because you want more people like you, like us, seeing messages like this, because it is important to see messages like this. And if it's not important for you to have to do that, don't like it, don't subscribe, don't comment. It's okay. It's not what I'm looking for. I'm a very different kind of YouTube creator because I'm not trying to create anything. I'm just trying to build a community here around using AI in unique ways, which I will absolutely help you with too. If you have challenges you're trying to get through, I'll live stream some of those if you want some help with them. But at this point, I was talking to a really good friend of mine earlier where she's basically saying, like, just get out there and solve your problems with this and just keep showing people. So this is an example of how we're doing it, how we're navigating through this crazy world we have built for ourselves, twisting ourselves up in tech, and I'm using tech to get out of it. So, all right. In this case, let me go through and I'm going to grab this prompt because that is what I'm going to do now. And I'm going to go back into Gemini and I'm just going to create a new chat. And all I'm going to do, let me just pop this out, close this little thing out. All I'm going to do is I'm going to paste in the prompt that it gave me. That's it. And then I'm going to say I'm a small business owner. LLC filing as S Corp, which I think is what that is the right way to say that. But again, that might not have been a difference. So some of you may have been like, you didn't have to do that. Totally possible. That's the point, is you don't have to use AI correctly at all. It's not about right and wrong with using the tool. It's about, is it useful or not, right? So if it happens to come back with the exact same answer anyway, I'd be like, cool, that wasn't a useful switch, but that doesn't matter because I still get the useful response anyway, right? Okay, so now let's see what it does. Now this will be different, and I'm keeping it on the free version. You could upgrade this stuff to Pro, and I could do that. I'm not doing that here because I want to show you, like, you can do everything I'm doing. I'm sure, I created this Gmail account like a week ago to start this channel. So I just want to show you, this is free. Okay, so here's what we're going to see now. This might be different. It might be the same. Let's find out. Sometimes they are. But it's starting a brand new conversation. So now it's not the leap prompt trying to get me to do an insight shift. It's, let's have a latent experience now with this prompt from the start of AI, generic, right? Just generic LLM, start a brand new chat, no gems or anything. But I got the prompt from the other, from the other bot. All right, low hum of the ceiling fan, another Sarah. Let's see, reviewing the annual P&L, documents on the laptop, blah, blah, blah. Okay, 2 years ago, tired, 2 years of sticking to the plan. Okay, that's good. That means I can do it now. My stomach didn't knot up, no cold sweat, just slow, deep breath. Okay, line 412, clicking the cell to expand the big one. The number was substantial, the necessary cost, but it didn't feel a black hole anymore. It felt defined, which is what I want. Because right now, healthcare, it feels out of control. It feels like if there was ever a thing called financial cancer, it would be called the healthcare system. And I do not understand why the healthcare system is created that and why we are supporting it by participating in it. And it's because we don't know any other way. I certainly didn't, which is why until now I was. Now I'm very interested in what's coming on. The number is substantial, necessary cost, blah, blah, blah. We pay this amount. It's a rational amount for 2 healthy people. We're not over-insuring the sniffles, which is what's happening right now. We're absolutely covered for the truly impossible, which is exactly what I want. Okay, God, I hope this is useful. So the true weight of the resolution hit me with bang with a smooth, quiet click. This is the part where I say when I'm experiencing it in my body. I'm like, yes, God, thank you. Somebody's listening. There is a solution, I hope. Like if this was a human talking to me, I'd be like, hell yeah, let's do it. Speaking of those of you that are insurance agents, imagine if you created experiences for your clients where this was not such a freaking nightmare. Golly, it'd be so much easier. You would have so much business. It was the certainty of a stop loss ceiling, which is exactly what I want because I trade and I understand that term. It makes sense. We modeled the absolute worst case scenario, catastrophic illness for both of us in the same year, that would be the worst case. The total out Xbox exposure is known, manageable quantity, no financial ruin, no selling the business, just predictable if painful. Sure, I don't mind. Like, I don't want to do that, but if it happened, at least we've got it covered. It's not an expense. It's a known predictable risk. Yes. But I've been, so honestly, here's where I am right now. I'm trying to do this in real time because I'm trying to, I want to record this, obviously, and use it for other purposes. But what I'm thinking right now is self-insured I have considered. But everything I have ever heard about self-insured is that's for the rich people. That's for the wealthy people. Only the wealthy people self-insure. And it feels like every system that is out there, that if you have enough money, you don't have to participate in the system. But if you have enough money, you do not have to participate in the system. But if you don't have enough money, which is the majority of us, we have to participate in the system. And it just so happens that system is incredibly expensive and removes a lot of your money. So how do you climb out? And that's my problem right now. Like, I realize I just said the word problem, but that's the solution is like, I wanted you just jump out. Like, I can't climb out. I just need to not be in this thing anymore. And I don't know how to make that happen, especially the self-insured stuff, because I know that's a thing. I just thought that was not a thing for me. So it may not be, but I'm very curious what comes up. Let's see. All right. So didn't ask a question. Annual aggregate attachment point. Shaking industry boundaries, setting us for disaster, to discuss deductibles, copays, ultimate backstop. Okay. Here's the key document. Aggregate attachment point or maximum claims liability. The figure represents absolute active value of claims. Administrators, the business would be liable for any given year because our plan was structured to let us benefit from our low claims. The premium was lower, but this attachment point was the boundary. Anything above that, no matter how catastrophic, was transferred to the reinsurer. Which is different, I think. The combination of our premium and the single fixed maximal risk number was the source of my original claim. Okay, AI step out the mechanism. All right, so here's what we do. So the single countertune mechanism that made this feeling rational, allowing the business owner to pay a rational amount, leverage a healthy status, and still be fully covered, is a level funded plan structure. So level funded plans, which is a hybrid of self-funding, awesome, and never heard of them. And I apologize if for whatever reason we happen to have come across in life and you mentioned to me this. I didn't realize these were a thing. So pay a fixed monthly amount, the level funded portion, similar to fully insured premium, benefit from low claims and good health, getting a refund or credit if the actual claims are below projections. Yeah. Refunds from healthcare? What? Achieve certainty via stop loss insurance that is built into the plan, which imposes a fixed known ceiling, the attachment point. Okay. Now I've got something to talk about. So what we were not trying to do right now was I'm going to get all my answers in one little AI prompt and then magic, everything's solved. That's not what's ever you should try to do with AI. It might happen, but outlier. What I wanted to do is I need to get it in a position where it is clearly giving me information and usefulness that I am not used to having because it's new and it's causing me to think differently. And I'm not freaking out in my head anymore, which I clearly was when I was talking about it because I could not see any other solutions. I couldn't get out of my head. I'm very much out of my head right now. And I'm now thinking about other things that I could go for. And so that's what we're going to do. So I'm going to steer it to try to get this a little bit closer to what I wanted to do, something a little more concrete that I can start to take some actionable steps on. Because right now I know these terms are out there, but I'm not sure how to do anything with them. And that's okay. That's not what this, in one prompt, you're not going to get every little thing. But you're going to get that, I have my useful next step, right? And that is the next thing. It's like, cool. And now I have an experience that shows me I now know what to do to continue the experience. In this case, to ask another question. So here we go. This is interesting. I've never heard of a level funded plan structure before, but I don't know anything about them. And so my experience right now, as I experience this response, is that it has promise, but it seems a little ethereal. It feels like it's kind of something possible, but maybe not for me because it has a lot of paperwork. and there's a lot of systems involved that I don't know about, and I have to have a lot of different corporate structures set up, and that this is only kind of for the rich people. And I'm not that. Again, small business owner, I don't make a ton of money. That's like, at least not right now. So I've always thought self-insured was you had to make a bunch of money, and we don't. So we don't have a lot of disposable income. We're like everybody else on the planet that has to deal with this. And so I'm trying to figure out here what the next steps are. And you can tell at this point I'm describing what I'm experiencing, but you can hopefully experience what I'm experiencing, in that there's something here. We're not quite there yet, but I would like to continue, I think, in this direction. One thing I think is important is, because we travel internationally, we also need to make sure that we have healthcare coverage no matter where we are. So I did not, in other words, because we travel, I didn't want it to be that we go and we get healthcare, and we can only get healthcare in our little town and only work with our little doctor who happens to do cash-based practice, but only there, and then someplace else now we can't get coverage, or worse, there is a catastrophic event that is uninsured, and now that's the one that is risky, right? So I'm not sure if does this stuff even work for that. Is this something that we can even do as the corporate structure that we are, which is, again, just a husband and wife team that's an LLC filing as an S corp for tax purposes, and I'm not sure what the idea of kind of the next steps are with this, in order to see if this is something that's really useful or not. It feels like it's potentially useful right now. It doesn't feel obviously useful. It feels obviously useful to know these are a thing. What doesn't feel obviously useful is how to make them a thing, like how to make it real. If this is actually a useful thing specifically for what we're trying to do. So I'm not sure. Maybe I just need more details, or maybe I need more examples. I'm not sure. I honestly think it's probably better that you make that decision, because at this point I'm kind of spinning in circles a little bit. I think I've given you enough information. I think I may have given you too much, possibly. I'm not entirely sure. What I would like you to do is go through and re-experience everything that's been experienced here, and then add your additional experience to that now that you have this new experience, and then repeat what you believe I'm experiencing right now. And of course, what then is highly likely to be the most obviously useful experience for me. So this last part is, I wanted to go through and analyze, but I'm not saying that, because if you say analyze, it's going to process. And that's a completely different skill. You don't have, analyzing is skills and knowledge. It doesn't have nuance of skills and knowledge. You can't analyze experience. Experience is just different, and it's coded differently in words and patterns. It is coded very differently in AI for that reason, because it's coded differently in your technology too, in your brain. So I'm asking it to go through and do that, but that's essentially what I'm asking, is analyzing from both different ways, the skills and knowledge and the ability to use the skills and knowledge. And then I'm asking it to tell me what to do, but I'm not telling it to tell me what to do, but that's what this pattern is doing. It's saying highly likely the most obvious useful experience for me, whatever that means, right? Doesn't matter, just next step. So as opposed to, what do I need to do to go ahead and fill out this paperwork? Because if I tell it that, it's going to give me that. And I don't want to give it a path. I need it to know it's got the freedom to come back with something that it feels is useful for me. And if I experience it as not obviously useful, I will let it know, right? And we steer it. That's the point. But if it is obviously useful, it's exactly what I needed, because it's obviously useful and I'm using it. Okay, so let's find out where we go. All right, so excellent and common feeling, yay. Concept is generally powerful, but the initial description sounds like a reserved for Fortune 500 companies, which it kind of does. For those, yes, it totally does. This is exactly the gap we need to bridge, from the ethereal promise to the practical next step. Here's a summary of the current experience, the new information, and the most obviously useful path forward. All right. Part one, here's what we're experiencing. I'm experiencing the small business owner's dilemma of scale. Yep. The idea of predictable monthly payment, retaining unused claim funds, a refund. That is amazing. That's amazing. That would be so amazing. Healthcare giving you a refund. God. All right. That would be shocking to me, by the way. Okay. And it's profoundly appealing. Solves a core problem. Rational cost for cash coverage. I hope this is a real thing. The uncertainty, and this is just how it is with AI, because you know the whole thing could just be a fantasy in your head that it's making up. I do not experience that that's probably what's happening, but I'm aware that it might be happening, because in the back of my head, I'm always like, could be wrong, could be wrong, could be wrong. There's other perspectives, there's other perspectives, there's other perspectives. This is not the only perspective that there is, right? That's all I'm doing. And that's healthy because you stay open to all the different opportunities that are there. The uncertainty. The phrase level funded plan structure immediately triggers a fear of complexity. It sounds like it requires massive cash reserves, which you don't have as a typical small business, a large number of employees, where I'm just 2 people, which is true, dozens of legal forms, yes, which I don't have the time or expertise to manage. The crucial new requirement. International travel adds a layer of complexity, which it does. True global catastrophic coverage, not just a local network plan, true. This reinforces the fear that this high-level solution might not accommodate, also true. In short, you're feeling intrigued but blocked by perceived administration and financial scale. Yep. All right. So this first part here. Now remember, I'm not using the Leap bot, but it came back specifically saying, here's where you are, because I asked it to tell me that. I need you to experience what I'm experiencing and tell me what I'm experiencing. The reason I need it to do that is because I'm basically saying, I need you to let me know you got me. Right? That's what it's doing. Here's what I experienced. You're saying, right? This is, imagine if we all did this with each other. Oddly enough, you start to, because your brain starts to reconnect, but that's other videos. All right. Bridging the gap, making it real. So let's see what we can do here. So the small business owner, relatively healthy, ideal candidate for the structure, minimum employee size is often much smaller than you think. That's good because there's only going to be the 2. You're not a self-funded plan in the traditional 100 employees sense, which is what I was thinking about with self-funded. I was like, this is never going to work for us. You're a level-funded small group plan. While fully self-funded plans often require employees, which is probably, I know I've Googled these things before and knew they were not useful, but that's why, because it was stuff like this. I remember this now, going, oh man, why is it always for somebody else that can win the game? And it's not true. It's just, it's hard for us as small business owners probably to connect with each other to say, oh, here's how we do it. So level funded plans are routinely offered to small groups, offering starting at 2 employees. Okay, so as an S-Corp owner and their spouse can often be counted as the group, depending on state law and carriers' underwriting rules. There's a viable option for husband and wife team, okay? This is the most crucial part. The reason it doesn't become a paperwork nightmare is because you're using a third-party administrator and stop-loss carrier. You don't manage the claims account, the TPA does. All right, you simply pay the fixed monthly premium to the carrier, who then handles the rest, administration, claims payment, and stop-loss insurance. This transfers the heavy administrative burden away from your small business, which would be wonderful. The monthly payment is fixed and predictable, making it accessible to a business without massive disposable income. The key financial benefit, you don't lose the difference if you stay healthy, which is where fully insured plans are a guaranteed loss. Exactly. Okay. So here's the mobility. Yes, it supports, but requires specific plan design. Level funded plans by nature being group health plans often contract with large national networks like PPOs or their equivalent. The major PPO networks utilized by these often have a separate built-in benefit or rider for urgent and emergency care worldwide, or they partner with global travel assistance companies. Okay. And then the safety net. Remember, the main point is the stop-loss feature, which is true. It protects the business from catastrophic claims. But, okay, this is interesting because I just realized what this is asking. This is saying the business fully pays all of our health care. And right now, the business is paying the premiums. It's not funding the health care. Okay, those catastrophic claims are almost always covered, regardless of where they happen, as long as they meet the plan's definition of emergency urgent care. Okay. Stop thinking of it as a corporate structural problem. Start thinking as a product selection problem, which is true. Which products are out there that I can get? Now, here's the problem. I have done this, and this is why I'm at where I'm at. No offense against anyone. Just, I'm here because I did this, so I'm not particularly happy with this. And then level funded health plans for 2-person group in your state is super important, which I will just use deep research for. And then the core question, ask a broker, can you quote us for a level funded small group plan, office PPO style, national network access? We're going to score 2 healthy owners. So, and this might be the problem, is I'm prompting the other human wrong. I asked the insurance agent to basically give me a super expensive plan in the way that I wanted to. And they were like, okay, here you go. And in reality, they hopefully would have said, hey, here's a better way of what you guys want to do. It'll save you a bunch of money. But to be honest, probably made them a better commission. That's just part of the system that's not working either, but that's okay. Crucial focus when looking at a quote, ignore the copays and deductibles initially. Find the maximum annual claims liability, which is important. That's the attachment point. So that's the maximum that we'll be able to be on the hook for. Total maximum out of pocket for you and your wife. This is a number that will give you the certainty and calm you seek in the future, proves a catastrophic expense, not a business ending risk. So, okay. Now, let's try this again. I love this. This seems like useful direction. As I'm experiencing this, when it comes to the most effective steps, the first element of professional came up with contacting somebody who knows how to do this. And I, unfortunately, I think we have done that. We're working with somebody who does small business stuff. And this has never come up. And I'm wondering, is it because we just have never, we don't really qualify for this? Like, what is the thing that I'm missing that maybe we don't qualify for this? That you might be thinking, oh, well, maybe there's an assumption here that's happening in terms of corporate structure, money laid out, companies that we're working with, or some other thing, because we wanted to have the absolute most flexible healthcare with the understanding that it was also financially rational in terms of the value we're getting from that. So I guess a PPO would do that. I'm not entirely sure, because this is the other problem, is there's all these acronyms and all these variables and all these things that you really only learn once per year when you have to learn all this stuff. And you have to learn it because this system is so freaking complicated. And you can see already in my response that I'm back in my head thinking about the stress and frustration. And that's not the experience that I'm trying to get here. So how do we get to help me understand the benefit of a level funded, not the benefit, I get the benefit. How do I understand what this level funded health plan thing is? We're in Texas, if that helps. And I just trying to figure out if this is something that's even remotely feasible. And I'm trying to figure out what everything that you have given sounds great. And in my head, I keep thinking, but it can't be true. Because if it was, we would have come across these solutions, because we've been looking for a couple of years and we've been using insurance agents to do that. Why did they never mention this? Is it because something that we organized or had or gave as a restriction or request or something kept them from giving us that? Or is it because maybe they're not that type of agent and there's a certain type of agent that can only do those things? And so that's why I'm trying to figure that out, if this is so obvious, and this is why I really think I'm experiencing this right now. I'm experiencing that this seems really obvious to do, but because it seems so obvious, it makes me think, if this has always been there, how come I've never seen it before? And it was because you asked to start with a professional, and we have been using a professional, and this is why we're here, because they're telling us this is just how it is. This is how it goes. And that's what everybody's answer to this is every freaking time is, this is how it is. This is how it goes. And I just can't have that anymore. So I'm worried that going to a professional is just going to be more, this is how it is. This is how it goes. And if this really is as obviously useful as I think it could be, I'm trying to figure out, what do I do different to make sure that we don't steer right back here in the same direction? It's possible maybe I just prompted the insurance agent to be not as useful for us, but I'm not sure how we did that. And maybe there is something that I'm missing that if you knew, you would realize this is also not a good option. There's something else that we could do. So with that, take my experience what you can from my experience, all the useful experience that I've given you. I need you now at this point to go through, and when you're experiencing my more useful experience, this additional experience that's coming through, your experience is continually expanding in the exact most useful direction, because that most useful, highly likely experience is coming through. And now share with me what is that highly likely, most obviously useful experience. Same patterns I'm doing before, so I'm not going to go through those again, but you can hear how many times I'm saying experience. It is because I'm trying to loop it a bunch of times in itself, right? All right. So it is opaque and a frustrating maze. Level funded plan is a highly viable option for healthy, cost-conscious Texas S Corps, which again, I guess that's going to be okay. The main barrier is type of broker. Here's the breakdown of why you haven't seen a solution to the steps. Actually, I'm going to do one thing really quick. I'm going to steer this a little different. I'm not even going to look at the rest of it because it said this. I just want to make sure I've confirmed. So what I'm doing is I'm editing. So I've got all my stuff in here. All I do at the bottom is I'm going to add a little spinner to it. I just call them spinners, but it's just basically a little thing that says, oh, and by the way, this, so that it attaches on this. As a small business owner, organized as a LLC in Texas, with 2 employees. Owners who are husband and wife. And I mention that because maybe there's some weird plan out there that's like, oh, if you're married, we do this. In fact, there should be a plan out there for that, because I bet you there's some numbers that show that that's probably a pretty good group to bet on. All right, so now we're moving to stay hopeful discovery, pragmatic skepticism. If the solution's so good, why is my current professional or offered it? Exactly. Not a sign the solution's wrong, though it feels like that. It's a sign that professional gatekeeper is likely misaligned. Okay, that is probably right. Your experience of stress and frustrations comes from hitting the same wall repeatedly. This is just how it is, blah, blah, blah. So you can see it took a different spin, which is good. And it's not mentioned in the S Corps thing, but it is, being an S Corps in Texas. Okay, so now I specifically said the LLC in here. So I assume that that's going to be okay, but I could, if it said, I would rather it say LLC, but I'm going to give it a little bit of thing. And at a certain point, I'm not trying to tell it, I need you to say it like this. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to, if it didn't do that, which it didn't, I'm going to assume it doesn't matter. It's just S Corps, you're filing as an S Corps. That's all that matters is IRS version of an S Corps. For those in the US knows what that means. Okay, so experiencing the why not me. I am experiencing anxiety rooted. 1, because we must not qualify because we're only husband and wife, S Corps, we don't make enough money, or I'm fearing the agent's incompetence or has bias, which is, I already told you, so you know that's true. I didn't tell the AI that, but my current agent has mentioned, which means they either don't know about it, they can't sell it because they're steering me to something that pays them better. Yes. Your state Texas is highly relevant since level funded plans are governed by federal law and are technically self-funded. They're often exempt from strict state insurance mandates that apply. This exemption is one of the ways to save money. Okay, primary reason your current agent may not have offered a level funded plan is not that you don't qualify, but they're only licensed, trained, or incentivized. God damn it. If the wrong turn here was going to an agent that could only sell me health insurance and I just asked for health insurance because I didn't know to ask for something else. If this becomes a thing, I am going to change this fucking system. Ugh, apologize for that, but my God. Because I know others that have had this experience and are having this experience right now. We are so frustrated that if it's something simple, like you just don't know what to ask for, and no one's telling anybody to ask for this specific thing, it is time to get people talking about these things. If this is the thing, I still don't know if it is, but I am experiencing something very different. And I think it might be a path out of this and into something decidedly more useful. All right. I'm just really irritated that if this is what happens, I'm going to be like, we're changing stuff because we just, oof, okay. The single counterintuitive action, changing your search focus. So instead of fully insured traditional small group, I go with level funded, partially self-funded, and alternative funding models. Perfect. So not the insurance agent, which is what I was going for. I go with a benefits broker consultant. Now, again, I know there are those of you out there who do this. And it's sad for me that the two of us have not met because I am your market. But because the experience of healthcare is so atrocious, it is very hard for the two of us to connect earlier than this. So whoever this broker consultant is about to be, we will probably never watch this video, though I probably should make them because it'll inform them of a lot of stuff of how I think and what I'm looking for. But I think there's a way to maybe get this message. Like if this works the way it is, I'm going to start helping people build better businesses around this because it's got to solve other people's. We're all wasting money in so many ways. Oh, it's not that the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. It's that the people like us just don't know what to do with the money and no one's helping us and we're alone for the most part. And you got to figure it out. Fortunately, I can be alone now because I got AI and I know how to operate AI to get stuff like this. And this is something that I can take and do something with, I think. So third-party strategies, stop-loss carriers, consulting fees, variable commissions, placed on savings and transparency, which is smart. Okay. I'm still going to ask about the LLC thing because it's saying S-Corp over and over again. I'm a little paranoid about that now. Okay, new search query, Texas small business level funded broker, TPA of 2% health. I'm just going to use deep research for that instead. And we'll have to explain the difference between PPOs and TPAs. Okay, and then I've got the crucial question. So now I know how to talk to them, which already is useful. I should probably just create a gem for this. Little insurance gem. Here, what's your insurance stuff? Maybe help with that. If you guys want that, I'm not going to create that right now because I've created some gems. I got the Lego Builder gem, by the way. That's also on there. We got the Leap gem. I got the, Boomer Buddy gem. But this is the part of the show here where is the breaking of the wall, right? I never start with like, hey guys, cause I just think that's silly. And for me, it's silly because I know it's just me and you. And you're watching this still or somehow came across this, there's a reason for that. So if you want to see a healthcare gem and you think that would be useful, please put it in the comment that you think it would be useful. If you do think it would be useful, I want to see that. Let's see here. Okay, so at that point, I'm going to ask just one other question here. Okay, I appreciate this. I have two questions. One is, you mentioned S-Corp but I'm actually an LLC in Texas that's filing as an S-Corp. Is that the same thing? I just want to clarify. I'm assuming it is, but you're not mentioning LLC, and I just want to make sure. So that's more of just a clarification to help put my mind at ease and make sure that those are covered. Actually, I got three questions. My second question is there anything else in this system that would be a kick out or a disqualification that we should know about ahead of time that is something that would be highly likely to be useful to know now? What I'm actually asking you for is the blind spots, the things that I'm not thinking about going down this path, the things that I need you to look behind walls and tell me what's coming there. I want you to tell me the maze that I'm going through and say, oh, here's the experience you're likely to have. You're going to think this, or actually you want to also consider this, or here's this reason to not go down this path, because this feels really, really useful, but I'm hearing all the positives and I'm wondering where the negatives are. Like, why isn't this something that everyone's doing? And this is so popular because this is just how small businesses do it. And everybody that's a small business knows to do it like this because no one told me this. And I've talked to a lot of small business owners that aren't doing this. So what do we do on that? The third question is, I would like, instead of Googling something on the Texas small business stuff, I'm wondering if we can't create a deep research prompt. That would be the perfect, most ideally useful prompt that will be highly likely to produce everything that I need. So essentially what that prompt does is use deep research capabilities, in this case, specifically the ones that are associated with Google Gemini, and that Google Gemini deep research report actually becomes a manual that I can then use to follow along that has a list of the people that does all this work, because I honestly don't want to have to go do all of this. I appreciate you telling me all of this, but I don't want to do the work. I think I want to just have the experience of having all of that information in one place in a useful way that I can follow along in basically what is this manual that was created by that deep research prompt. Now, I'm not saying experience, because this is not a latent experience prompt. This is where I'm just going casual. This is where I'm just saying, hey, okay, I got 3 questions. This one, this one, this one. I'm giving it some details, which is fine because you do want to give it context. So I should get pretty quick of clarification and disqualification stuff, because there's nothing worse than, let's see, LLC thing, LS Core, how the owner's wages and benefits, blah, 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 healthcare employer, critical is employer, owners entrepreneurs, we grant 2% stake. This is a structure, perfect. It's the same, great. All right, so LLC thing, again, I was assuming that was the case, but it's really, really nice when it's like, yep, we've checked it a bunch of times, it is. And that, I believe that is the case too, just on past experience with that. Blind spots, if I wasn't, by the way, I would be Googling or talking to an accountant. I never just believe AI. We're never, ever, ever telling you to just blindly believe AI. It's just a machine. Blind spots and disqualifications. So healthcare status, if we have significant pre-existing conditions, which we do not, which is great. No cancers, complex heart disease, major autoimmune disorders, none of that stuff. Perfect. So they are used from level funded plans, use medical underwriting like life term insurance to set custom rate, which is why they're cheaper for healthy groups. So smart. If a group is not healthy, the system works against them. They're better off with a fully insured ACA, which cannot underwrite based on health. Interesting. Okay, I see the behind the scenes loophole. Somebody find me a politician. I can solve this healthcare, help them solve this thing just with AI. I just want to show them how to use AI to get some different conversations started. That's all. We just need different conversations. The surprise cost, lump sum refund clawbacks. The refund you get if claims are low is fantastic, but your plan has provision to hold back part of a refund in case claims are incurred late, which is fine. No problem. Yes. Fine. So as long as I don't care about the refund clawbacks, the refunds you get if claims are low is fantastic, but your plan is provision for holdbacks. That's fine. I don't care about that. I won't expect refunds anyway. Agent broker bias. So many traditional non-small group brokers are simply not appointed or contracted to sell this stuff. They make money pushing, which is they do. Okay, this is the wall you've hit. If your agent says it's not a great option, it may mean that's not an option I sell. Not an option I sell. It takes specialized knowledge to package the TPA, the network, and the stop loss. Okay. Since you are technically sponsoring a self-funded plan, you assume some federal regulatory duties. And then I need to ensure the TPA provides clear documentation and manages compliance filings like the Form 5500. Those small plans are usually exempt. This is why a great broker is essential. Okay, so we have to have that person doing that. Level funded plans are not for everyone because they're specifically designed to healthy, low claiming groups, which is perfect. We are not a high claiming group. Okay, create the most useful. Now we're all that work. And that's where I think a lot of us also have misused AI in the past. AI gives us work and then we're like, okay, thanks AI. I have all the work. I'm like, nope, you do the work. Like I appreciate that work needs to be done. That's how I read that. Whenever it says, here's all the stuff you can now do. I go, here's all the work that is now there to do. It doesn't mean I have to do it. Let's figure that out, right? So I'm trying to get deep research to do it. Let's see, internal use to generate the manual. So we're going to take this. Oh, check this out. Oh, and this actually, the tool search to build a manual. So the manual is built in experienced past agent like a specialist traditional component funding tool. This is the whole prompt. Oh my God, 3 chapters, 4 chapters. Okay. Okay. Now, here's what I'm going to do for this. I can't necessarily tell where the prompt starts and where it, and I don't want to capture what I'm not going to do. Again, this is AI operation. Structure of how the data goes into the AI is very important. So as it comes through and I'm doing this, if I copy and pasted everything and then I paste it back in, you'll see how it kind of does this stuff, right? Export to sheets and everything else. It's this, all the words and letters are there. The patterns will be connected, but it's a lot of noise that it has to get through in order to see very clear connection in the LLM. So I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to ask it to structure it for itself. So this is where I'm just going to type it. I'm going to like, great job on the deep research prompt. Please provide the entire prompt in a form that is highly likely to be the most useful structure for Google Gemini with deep research. Now, the reason I do this is because when you mention the specific tool you're using, so if you're doing this with ChatGPT and you're saying, oh, with ChatGPT, using deep research capabilities, whatever the thing is, do that, because there are times you will see some shockingly cool things where new features pop up in that prompt that you didn't realize were a thing, because it is a thing, but it hasn't been publicly announced yet. But the AI knows that it can do stuff, so it puts these little things in prompts. I've seen this. You'll see it over time. It's pretty cool though. That's why I specifically say write the prompt for this thing that I'm using, because sometimes it goes, oh, this thing can do this. All right, so highly used structure, blah blah blah, in the form of a markdown box. And paste, because I'm not going to mess with the structure. So markdown is an important thing. This will give it a structure. This is what markdown looks like. So this is where it's like these little asterisks. These all mean something. This is what gives AI a structure to things. You know, double asterisk, single asterisk. All of this stuff means something to the AI, right? So that's what I needed. I needed that structure, and all that other stuff I didn't. And okay, that's interesting. So it wasn't all that. This stuff wasn't part of the prompt. So that's pretty interesting. Let's see, comprehensive DEM for a Texas-based LLC core. Let me just do this. I'm going to copy it. Let's see what happens. So we're going to copy it. I'm going to go to Gemini. I'm going to do a new chat, no bots, right? So we're not doing any bots. Let me just get rid of our little nano banana thing here. Close this out, make some room. Okay, all I'm doing is I'm still in Flash. I'm going to turn on tools, deep research, and I'm just going to paste in the prompt I copied. So all I did to do that, by the way, again, is I just click this little box, copy code. That's why you ask for a markdown box, so you can copy and paste. And then AI goes, oh, here's a little markdown box with a button so you can copy and paste. It makes it really easy. Otherwise, you end up getting a box without this little copy and paste thing. And sometimes, and then you have to do stuff like this, and you have to like get it all the way to the end, and you got to go back and forth, and that mess. I don't like doing that. So anyway, there's that. Okay, so I'm just going to check this prompt out really quickly, make sure it's in the same thing. Okay, perfect. So I was literally going to change it to LLC, but it says it here, so that's perfect. 2 or 3 employees, blah, 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 customer protection, fully subject, manual requirements, list of sections, Texas, the who. So this is going to cover all of the different Texas ones. It's already pulled in some names, which is pretty cool. It's going to identify at least 3 based Texas ones, which is good. Disqualifications and risk analysis. Why not everybody? So that's good. And then the stop loss safety net. Oh, I see what it was doing. Okay, I'll go back and show that in a second. Okay, this is going to be fine. So I'm just going to head and hit go. Now, with deep research, this is one thing I've seen Gemini. I don't know if they all do this. I like, you have to sort of wait for it to answer back, because if I leave this conversation, sometimes it kind of stops here because it knows that the tab is not active anymore, and it goes, oh, I guess he just left. And maybe it didn't get received. Okay, perfect. Here's what we're doing. So this is what I want. So now it's come up with its plan of how to do it, because I turned on deep research. So we're going to go and start that research. I'm just waiting for this to come back, which it did. Okay, so now it's going to come through and do its thinking. At this point, you can leave it, right? It'll tell you, free to leave this chat, which is what I'm doing. So I'm leaving the chat. Actually, let's go back to the prompt where I got that. So what I saw, when I saw this stuff, I thought it was saying, oh, here's chapter 1. And here's the prompt stuff for chapter 1 details. And here's the stuff I want you to do for chapter 2 details. But what it was doing was saying, here's basically what it's going to look like. Like, here's the simulated manual. It literally gave me a simulated manual. This deep research should be substantially more detailed at this point. So it won't look like this, but it'll have all these basic stuff in it. So it should be something useful for me. And now I have taken AI and used it in a way so I am not so terribly stressed out about the healthcare situation. Not necessarily solved, but I knew I could not solve it right now. I knew I would have other things to do to solve it. So I'm not trying to solve the problem. I'm trying to get out of my current state and make progress through the solution that I am experiencing. This is the early stages of a solution that I am experiencing because of what I did with AI just now. Got me out of my head, got me into a completely different state, got me a lot more resourceful, used AI to do the deep research, did a lot of the heavy lifting. Yes, it took me an hour, but let's face it, that was mostly talking to you. A lot of that, if I had just done this by myself, I would have been in and out within 20 minutes and had a completely different experience of where I was going. And I wish to God I had done this 3 years ago. If this is a thing, but I feel like this might be a thing. And I know people that I can talk to about this because now I know what to say. Before, when I would talk about insurance, I only thought there were insurance agents. I didn't recognize the distinction between this business broker thing and an agent. I thought they were the same thing. They're clearly not, but only the business brokers probably know that. And only the agents probably know that. And unless you happen to know one, or they just randomly come into a conversation, or you happen to know the exact thing to ask for, you don't find that stuff. And that's just the world that we're in right now. If I don't know the exact magic phrase to Google, then I don't see your website. So I never come across your thing that can help me. If everyone's using tech and they're reacting to tech and Facebook and everything else, and we're reacting all the time to it, we're giving the algorithm signals to feed us back stuff that's actually not useful, because if I'm reacting to something that's enraging me, I'm never going to see your healthcare thing. Now, I know those of you out there going, yeah, but paid ads. So I can trigger the enragement and then I show you a paid ad for my healthcare thing, which is true. But I'm pretty enraged about healthcare. So how likely am I to be in that receptive state? I already despise everything about it. And you're like, let's do more with healthcare. And even if you're like, save money, I already don't trust the entire freaking system. And you're technically a part of it for me at that point. So I don't trust you at all. And I'm in a platform that's probably just enraging me all the time. So I can't trust anything anyone ever says. And it's not your job to convince me to trust you. It's just your job to help provide an experience that can be a little easier for me. Because if you're doing it for me, you're doing it for millions of others. And I bet you there is a way we can network and create something that can help other people that I think might be experiencing this problem too. Because that would save a ton of people a bunch of money, and all that resource would be unlocked to produce more value. So I might do something with that. All right, with that, this has been another one of those little crazy videos. Let me know if you want the healthcare gem for sure, because then I will build it, and I'll put that in there. And if you want to help build something, we do have a free community. It's over at automatedwith.tech, and I purposely am just saying it, but just automatedwith.tech, as in I am automated with tech, but just automatedwith.tech instead of .com. And over there is a free community, and I want to get with the builders and the operators, the people who know they can change stuff. They see the slightly different world that I'm starting to see here a little bit. Me personally, at least I can say I'm experiencing that. There's a different way to get some stuff done with AI, and it's a lot simpler than we are all making it because of the way you can use AI. So you can kind of, at a certain point, you start to go like, man, if I can solve the healthcare issues that I'm running into, what else can I solve? And if there's other people who also, let's say, have these healthcare issues with small business owners, and I can work with others who might be in these TPA things or some other organization that's useful, why wouldn't I? Because I want to help others too not have to experience this. So I would be back there helping all of you with the AI stuff. If you want, you can help us with the other stuff that you might have. Let's see, there might be something cool there. All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and end this. Thank you so much again for joining. This is Your Mind on AI, and I look forward to seeing you on another episode soon. Take care.